everybody, I am Danny Otto. Welcome into another episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 4 of season 2 of The Bad Batch. So if you haven't checked that episode out yet, you may want to pause this video, head over to Disney Plus, check that out, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me to break down everything from season 2, episode 4 of The Bad Batch, it's Jon Jon Rico.
Hi.
Hi. Hello there.
Hello there. Oh, yeah.
Hello there.
There we go. That's what I was waiting for. So, episode 4 of Bad Batch. I mean, I feel like this is, and we were talking about this, and we'll talk more about this, but this was, it was a good episode overall. We didn't get the main storyline that we were hoping to pick up on, but you know what? I'm happy with, having an episode that maybe isn't main storyline driven here and there. I enjoyed
filler.
It. Yeah. I didn't want to say filler because I feel like filler has like a negative connotation, and I don't have anything negative to say about this episode. I enjoyed it. It went by really quick. I feel like, it was the same amount of time as the other episodes. But if I started it and then I was like, oh, it's done already, type of thing. So I didn't want to say filler because I like I said, I think filler sounds bad. But for me, I like the episode. I have to go to my pop culture reference instantly because the second I heard the voice of this character, it was all I could think of. The racing droid that we have on Sid's team, the one, the only Teo, is Jean-Ralphio from Parks and Rec.
The worst. She's the worst in the world.
That's it. Personality-wise, voice is voiced by Ben Schwartz, who is Jean-Ralphio, and he's also Sonic the Hedgehog. I wanted to point that out too. I thought about going with that pop culture reference and saying, oh, it's the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog in a race setting. Of course he wants to go fast. But the attitude and just the personality of the robot, Teo, is Jean-Ralphio.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
If he was a robot. And I love every scene that he's in and everything that he has to say. It's incredible. Yeah, that made the episode for me. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it a little bit more. But Rico, what were some of your initial impressions of this episode?
Yeah, Ben Schwartz coming back to do voicing a droid in Star Wars, which if people don't know, he's also one of the voice consultants for BB-8 in the sequel trilogy. So that's pretty cool. Him and Bill Hader. Yep. So that's a pretty cool little fun fact there. But yeah, so Danny won't say it, but I'll say it. This was a filler episode. So we kind of expect this from Bad Batch in some forms. Not every single episode is going to be like this main, like we were saying, main storyline driven episode. So so you're gonna have some episodes in every season of almost any show where you go back and you rewatch it, goes maybe I don't need to rewatch this one and you can just skip it. This is probably gonna be one of those the other day. It's still a pretty fun adventure. There's nothing wrong with it. I always say it's fine. It's a fine episode. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, we kind of fell back into that old adventure of the week formula that the show was kind of doing some of it in the first season as well, which kind of made it kind of fly under the radar for some people, I bet. But I still like that every single episode so far has kind of focused on a particular group of characters. The premiere obviously focusing on the Bad Batch as a whole. A third episode focusing on Crosshairs, and now here we kind of get this little breakup of the Bad Batch of these three characters, Wrecker, Tech, and Omega, kind of going off and doing their own thing. We get no mention of Echo or Hunter anywhere really at all. So that's that was really kind of cool to see. Maybe like the next episode will be Echo and Hunter doing their own thing as well, which will probably be like a little bit more of a serious storyline because with the way those two characters can operate.
Yeah.
So having these characters kind of be so having these characters, these three characters in particular together made for kind of a more lighter episode, a pretty cool little like a throwback to pod racing, of course, like that, which I think was really cool. Like people, there's a lot, for a lot of people, that's the best part of the Phantom Menace is that pod racing episode. And we haven't really got any cool racing things since then. So kind of cool to get an episode kind of based all around that. So yeah, episode was fine.
Not only that, I mean, obviously the biggest thought is pod racing, but you can see that they've now upgraded it. It's not just racing; it's
Riot Racing, I think it was called.
Yeah, but you have shielding, you have guns, you have everything.
Yeah.
It's all fair game. With pod racing, it was just they didn't have any guns. I mean, they could sabotage, but that wasn't
And
part of
Twisted
the role.
Metal.
Yeah. now it's basically space Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
But you also had those little droids, those repair droids and stuff like that were in Phantom Menace and stuff around pod racing, and it was cool to see, some of the prequel stuff that's there, and I know you always look for those little things, and I thought seeing a lot of those little things are cool here and there, both in live action stuff and in cartoon stuff. I really appreciate them having those little added touches.
There's definitely a lot of there's a lot of different little Easter eggs in this kind of an episode where you don't have to really pay attention necessarily to what's happening within the storyline, but if you look around a lot in the scenery, you're going to be pointing out, there's like one of these little things. There's one like there's a B1 battle droid. That's one of the droids that will fit the pods in a Phantom Menace. So yeah, I think that's really a fun kind of episode to do that kind of thing with.
Yeah, absolutely. And because it was more of like a filler, your words, I say more of a palate cleanser episode. It didn't take away from the story. Like having all of these little tiny Easter eggs and little tiny things that are there to kind of, because we're in this transition period. We're between the prequels and the original trilogy. So it's cool to see, some newer stuff, but some of the older stuff from the prequels as we move towards the original trilogy era in time and stuff like that. So I think it's cool to see that. And the fact that they used this episode didn't take away from like the main plot storyline, I think. And that's why I thought it was really cool. But do you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to kick us off with this because I'm going to talk more about Teo, who is now just Robo Jean-Ralphio. But basically what I really enjoyed seeing was and you were already starting to talk about this on how the premiere, the 2-episode premiere, we followed the entire Bad Batch crew, and then the 3rd episode we followed Crosshair, and then with this one, it, like you said, it broke it down even further, and we got part of the Bad Batch crew, but then it even more so focused on Tech. And so we got like a little bit more of character development of Tech, and just, seeing more of personality of Tech, and just seeing more about him, like more towards the forefront, I guess. And I appreciated that. And also I really liked having this kind of, I guess, reverse of what you would think conversation between Teo and Tech, where Tech is analyzing and making calculations on the race course and really trying to, map out scientifically the best run of the course and take all this data and analytics and all this stuff. And then we have Teo, who is a droid, not a person, basically say, you need to race by feel. Like, I don't need any of those statistics or calculations or anything like that. You're doing it wrong, basically. And you just think that would be the opposite of what would be happening. You would think the human would be saying that kind of thing. And in any other kind of, movie, like a race movie and stuff like that, it would be like, never tell me the odds or something like that. Like the person would be saying that, not the droid. It would be flipped. And I enjoyed having that be like a different conversation. And it really showed us how Tech's brain really works more like a machine. Like he really is more calculations and more statistics and more analyzing things and thinking stuff out, which is his part of this squad, this crew, and why he works with the other people that are going to more think like humans would. And that's why I think tech is a very essential member. And for me, it was like that, oh shit, kind of moment where it was like, that's what tech is perfect for, is making those calculations and really having a thorough thought of everything. Whereas everybody else is going based off of their human thought, emotion, stuff like that. So I really enjoyed just having a little more glimpse of tech and having that reverse. But I could go on for forever with this, even though it was such just a short episode and stuff like that. But Rico, what were some of your big takeaways?
Yeah, so the whole kind of like point of this, or the whole plot of the storyline is essentially the fact that Sid's gotten into some trouble and is doing like this kind of gets involved in this bet against the kind of like a crime guy. His name is Malegi, Malegi, his name is, and so she ends up losing that bet after Teo, I believe, he loses the first time, if I'm not mistaken.
Sabotage.
Yeah, sabotage. And so that's of course when Omega throws out the challenge, like, hey, we'll go double or nothing, essentially. And of course, being that crime people do what they do, they sabotage again. But this time, after Teo has been fixed once already, he gets destroyed again. Which is, rough for this sassy little droid, but he served his purpose there. So, but that leaves an opportunity for someone to step into the driver's seat, of course. And normally in this situation, you feel like with Star Wars' past, they would have put Omega in the driver's seat, and that would have been like a cool thing where she kind of like steps up. I guess, yeah, she steps into the driver's seat, I guess metaphorically and literally, but she would have had like that kind of like Anakin Phantom Menace moment where it's like, she gets the job done for like, her superiors, in this case, Sid and Tech and Wrecker kind of being like the Obi-Wan and Padme and Qui-Gon, which is kind of funny. But I like that they put Tech in that spot instead, because of one, like you were talking about, the dynamic between him and Teo, which is just kind of like the reverse opposites of the way they are both physically and the way that they are like kind of wired, essentially. Like,
right.
I guess wired as far as text genetic coding, and then the way that Teo is literally wired.
Exactly.
So it's a funny dynamic to watch go down. But it's kind of cool because you get to watch him make that kind of analysis, kind of like a protocol droid or something like that. Like, because his brain is wired more like a droid, and he can actually assess these situations with facts and data. So it's really cool to watch him kind of operate in that sense, and I think it makes for a really, yeah, like you said, a cool tech based episode, kind of allowing him to get more of the spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And yeah, I mean, now that you mention it, it would have made sense for Omega to jump in the driver's seat, and we would have
I
had.
totally expected, because she was the one running her mouth anyway. So I'm like, why wouldn't she?
Yeah. I think how also she doesn't say double or nothing. She's like, if you win, we'll give you double. Like, just say double or nothing. Like, I was waiting to hear double or nothing. But you want to get to some predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, why don't you kick us off with predictions?
Okay, so really from this episode, there's no real standout moment, I guess, that you could say is going to play into play a bigger role in the major storyline to come. But there was a moment at the end of the episode when, of course, when all said and done, Tech does win the race, and Malegi is true to his word, like, okay, you guys won, you guys can go. So I'm like, okay, cool. He's a man of his word in that sense. He didn't just try to like be like, oh, you lost, I'm gonna try and you guys gotta shoot your way out, which they easily could have done that.
Right.
But he kind of takes a moment to stop. I believe he's talking to Tech about Sid. Essentially, like that the inevitable kind of fallout in between the Bad Batch and the Sid, I think, is coming. We kind of addressed it in the premiere first when Hunter and Echo are talking about kind of like what their end goal is, essentially. Like, what are we gonna do here? I know you're kind of looking to set a new life for Omega, or like we should just keep going into like a bigger fight, which would be, I'm assuming Echo is referring to the rebellion in that sense. But I I definitely think the way that Malegi is kind of hinting at like Sid's eventual betrayal or just an eventual falling out between the Bad Batch and Sid, I think is something that we have to look forward to as far as what this episode hinted at.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I mean, we got a couple of references to this, like when Sid is being held hostage the day before the race, basically, and they're having a conversation where Malegi is saying that we're the same, like you haven't changed and stuff like that, and she said I might surprise you and stuff like that. I was telling you, I almost thought it looked like the racer was going to shoot somebody. He literally eyes the gun while they're saying goodbye. And then as they're leaving, he goes to pick up the gun and Malegi stops him from actually shooting. And that's when he gives the warning that you were talking about. But I actually thought maybe Sid, he was going to shoot like maybe at Omega or something. And then Sid was going to jump in the way or something like that. I only from context, and I could be completely off, because I'm just basing it just on a little bit of the context that we got from this episode in the couple of those moments was I don't know if we're going to get so much of a falling out between the Bad Batch and Sid, or if it's going to be a Sid sacrifice play and we're just not going to have Sid anymore because she gets in the way and helps the Bad Batch escape type of thing, proving that she has changed, proving that she has character development instead of betrayal route. I think it's more of going to be some sort of sacrifice play to show her overall character arc of that she really has changed as a character.
Right. I think that, and then she kind of mentions it. I think I want to know I don't remember if it's in the first season or in this season, but she says that with the Empire kind of doing all this occupational stuff, that she only has so long to keep her game running.
Right.
So I feel like that we're already kind of seeing like the clock is ticking, right?
Right.
So I think that we're just kind of seeing now that time is just starting to run out, and it's going to be either we have a 2-part mid-season finale, and I feel like the storyline with Sid would be a good time to kind of come to a head right there. And you have the whole rest of the season to kind of have them be on their own and figure out where they're going to go from here. So yeah, I think there's a little like, oddly enough, there is like quite a bit of growth as far as Sid's storyline here, despite this being the adventure of the week kind of an episode. But yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting kind of like side storyline to follow as we go along, for sure.
I like that. I like your mid-season finale prediction. I like that a lot, and we're going to keep track of it, and everyone else out there can keep track of it. And as always, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of this episode, and what do you think is going to happen with Sid? Is it going to go the betrayal route, or is it going to go the sacrifice play route? And will we get that as the mid-season finale, which is, a few episodes off from now, but we have some time to build. So let's, put that up on the board and hopefully, hopefully we're right. That would be awesome. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our video and audio releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.